Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3968 BN. Today's date is August 11th, 2026, and the title of the episode is Deep State World is Crumbling. Trump makes a list of the enemies and hints what the election plan is. Now, did you know a new survey found that 1 in 3 Americans feel most self-conscious about their body at the beach more than anywhere else? Summer is here. The trips, the pool days, the photos are already happening. And if you've been eating better, cutting back, generally trying, but cravings keep taking over no matter what, that's not you being weak. Your hunger hormones are working against you. This is why I'm obsessed with GLP-1 Elevate. Instead of a pharmaceutical override, it uses clinical studied plant-based ingredients like metabolate to naturally restore my body's own hunger control signals. In clinical studies, it raises GLP-1 levels by 56% and cut calorie intake by 20%. No prescriptions, no needle, just quieter cravings, real fullness, and a body I'm actually proud of this summer. To kick off summer, get 51% off only at trimwithx22.com. Every order comes with free VIP coaching for life, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free express shipping with subscriptions. Once again, that is trimwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech, fake news, the puppet masters. You can see at this point the world is crumbling. Think about the evidence that's coming out right now against the deep state players, everything that they did. Now, remember, these are the pawns. And yes, they should go to jail. Yes, they should be held accountable. But these are the pawns that did the dirty work of the deep state players. Remember, the deep state puts into place criminals, people who have no morals, people that will do anything for money, people that will do anything to be famous, people that will commit crimes and not even think twice about it. Those people will also hurt people and not even care. And they also needed the people that would just completely and utterly lie about everything. And if you look at the D's, if you look at those people that have been in the agencies, especially Fauci and others, those are the people. And right now, as Trump brings out more and more evidence against these people, their entire world is starting to fall apart. Trump is going to be removing all the different pawns that are protecting Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the rest. You see, when you get the pawns in a certain position and you show the American people what they did, where did they get their instructions from? And this will go all the way back up to the top. That's what Trump is doing. He also let everyone know who the enemies truly are. He actually made a list in one of his truth posts, letting everyone know that these are the people that are funding certain things, or companies that are funding certain things. Think about that for a second. And every step of the way, you could see that the deep state players, they're losing ground. And they're going to continue to lose ground because Trump went all the way back to the beginning and is now explaining what happened with Russian collusion, how they manipulated the information, how they lied to the FISA court, how they went ahead, lied to the American people, and that is going to bring us all the way up to 2020. And you could see at this point in time, the election rigging, the overthrow of the United States government is being investigated right now. And Trump is going to use this against them. Remember, there was an overthrow of the United States government, and they decided they were going to use a virus to overthrow the United States government, and they didn't care who they hurt. And the proof now is coming out. The evidence shows that they knew exactly what they were doing, and they lied to the American people every step of the way. And like we said, going back in time, Trump definitely wants the Save America Act passed, but if he cannot get that passed and he can't get those individuals to do what is right, he will then use an executive order. He pretty much gave us a hint that this is the direction that we'll be heading in. But he said, stranger things have happened. So I do believe when we're watching the Senate shut down and they're going through their pro forma sessions, I think it's a good idea to keep an eye on who they chose to basically gavel in the Senate. I think that will tell you everything you need to know because, again, every week pretty much, all the way up until September, they're going to have someone go in and gavel the Senate into session. So take note of who they are. And does Trump still have time? Does the Senate still have time to pass the Save America Act? Of course they do. Is the Save America Act going to be used for the midterms right now? No. The Save America Act to be fully implemented, well, that's going to need some time. And I do believe that will be fully implemented by the presidential race. But if you do get the Save America Act passed, Trump then can use the executive order to say, hey, there's already a law, and I'm just requiring everyone to use voter ID, paper ballots, one-day voting. If the Save America Act isn't passed, let's say that plan falls by the wayside, all he needs to show is we have a national security threat, and he has the authority to issue that executive order, making every single state, every single person show ID when they go to vote. Because it is a national security threat. He's going to show and prove that there are countries that are involved in this. There are people on the ground in the United States that are involved in rigging the election. And he's going to say to safeguard the election, this is what we need to do. Now, this is what the Ds are most panicked about. Again, he wasn't going to issue this back in 2025 or the beginning of 2026, or this is why I do believe the Save America Act was not passed early on, because why give your enemy a chance to try to counter all of this? Remember, we're still in a war. The war hasn't ended. I mean, I don't know what people think, but we're still fighting the deep state players. Yes, does Trump have leverage? Absolutely. Do we have a lot more power than we had before? Absolutely. Is the deep state players using the judges trying to delay all of this? Absolutely. So we're still at war, and Trump is not going to give the enemy information to try to counter what we're trying to do. That's just stupid. So if you're in a war, what do? You don't reveal your plans until the very, very last minute. You make your enemy believe that it's impossible. We can't get the Save America Act passed. Nobody wants to do it. Look, even the Republicans are fighting us against it. It's impossible. So you don't have to worry about that. We just can't do it. Now, once again, this is what the deep state players, the Ds, the fake news are going to use. They're going to say, look, they really can't do it. It's impossible. Trump doesn't have the power over the Senate. And in the end, he has two methods of doing this. And you want to catch them off guard. Remember, you're forcing the deep state, the central bankers, and the rest, the corrupt politicians, down the path you want them to go. So you don't reveal all of your plans, just like what he's doing out in Iran. You're not going to reveal all of your plans. Remember, just because you don't see a war being fought the way the deep state players fought wars doesn't mean Trump isn't winning the war. You have to remember, the wars back then were completely and utterly set up. This war is against the deep state, the central bankers. You really think he's just fighting Iran? No, he's not. And his methods are winning. Actually, the Iranian-China Chamber of Commerce head actually came out and said, yeah, what Trump is doing, it is hurting Iran a lot. Much more so than having bombs fall on Iran. And you really have to think about this and think logically. Iran has no power. You see, Trump is not just fighting Iran. He's not just fighting so Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. He's fighting the deep state and the central bankers there, because this is much, much larger than just stopping Iran from having nuclear weapons. Again, yes, nuclear weapons were important because if they had nuclear weapons, it'd be much, much harder to stop the deep state, the central bankers in controlling the oil price. He needed to show the other countries in that area that you need to build pipelines away from the Strait of Hormuz. Sometimes you need to show the countries the truth and actually make them feel the pain every step of the way. That is exactly what he did. But on a larger scale, you have to remember what Trump is doing. This is not just about a 4-year election, making prices come down a little bit in the supermarket, saying, okay, look, see, prices are down a little bit. You feel good about it. Gas is down 30 cents. Everything looks great. I feel good because he lowered gas 30 cents. Oh, look, we got a couple of jobs here. Inflation's at 1 or 2%. Hey, everyone feel great. That's not going to fix anything. That's a temporary Band-Aid fix, making everyone feel a little bit more comfortable. But as time goes on, this can be undone in a split second. We've seen it before. It happened multiple times before. Because if you leave the deep state system intact, the deep state system is just going to reverse everything that he did. So this goes far beyond what people are talking about with Iran. It goes far beyond what people think is happening. Because what he's doing right now is removing the source of all of this. Why do you think we came off the gold standard in 71? Why do you think they set up the petrodollar system out in the Middle East? Why do you think we had troops out there? It was protecting their system. Why do you think they gave Iran the power that they had to control the oil prices across the world? Why do you think they did all of this? To hurt the United States, to remove the manufacturing, to remove the power, to destroy the United States in the end. So the only way to rebuild the United States is not just to make people feel happy. Oh, look, the midterms are coming up. Let's lower the gas prices by 30 cents. This is going to make us feel good. Oh, look, the midterms are coming up. Let's stop the war because it's not a good thing. It's people don't like it. See, in the end, Trump is not here to make people feel good a little bit. In the end, Trump is here to remove the power from the deep state, remove everything that they put into place, and give and return and give that power back to the people. So the people have that power. He knows at this point that we already won the House and the Senate because all he has to do, and it's very, very simple, all he has to do is remove what they put into place, and that is their cheating system. All you need is to block their cheating system. And how do you do that? What is their cheating system? Their cheating system is what? Registration? Their cheating system is what? Illegals? Social security numbers? Mail-in ballots? How do you stop all that? It's very, very simple. All you got to do is issue an executive order or have the Save America Act passed. That shuts down everything. So all this talk, everyone's screaming and yelling that, oh, you're not going to have the poll numbers. It's meaningless because you're dealing with a cheating system. It's almost like going back to COVID. I mean, look, all the evidence is coming out and it shows that Fauci lied. He lied about everything. And the CDC lied, the FDA lied, everyone lied. But back then, if you listen to the people, you must get your vaccine. You must wear a mask. You must do these things. And again, it turns out to be untrue. The same thing's happening right now. If you're dealing with a rigged system, and yes, going back to COVID, that was a rigged system. They lied to you. The elections are a lie. It's a rigged system. If you remove the rigged system doesn't work. So everything that you're talking about, everything that you're basing everything on, disappears. That's what happens. That's why Trump is so confident. Because he understands that, no, the Iran war is not going to make MAGA split up and say, we don't want to vote. No, keeping the gas prices where they are right now is not going to make the people say, we don't want Trump, we're going to go with the Democrats. No, none of that is going to happen. Because if the system has been rigged for all of this time and you remove the rigging part of it, the D's have what? They do not have the votes. They cannot win. It's impossible. All you got to do is go back in time. Think about how many votes they were able to give Biden. Do you really think he got 81 million? Do you even think that he got 50 million? Do you think Kamala got over 50 million? I mean, really think about this for a second. Now, with the Democrat Party in shambles, and you have the Muslims, the communists, and everyone else coming on board. You have the far, far left, and they're winning the elections, and the Democratic Party is supporting them. What do you think is going to happen? So let's see. You get rid of their cheating system. You make everyone use an ID. You make everyone use a paper ballot. You make everyone vote on one day. You show the people that the Democrats are all for communism, Islamists, and everything else. What do you think the people are going to do? The moderate Democrats, the Republicans, the independents. You really think they're going to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to vote Democrat. I think people are going to be surprised with these elections. I think people are going to be shocked on how Trump was able to remove everything they did and how we win the House and Senate, even with the war. It's not even really a war. Even with the higher fuel prices, and they're not even as high as Biden. Even with all of this, the people are going to still vote for Trump because he's doing everything that he wants them to do. And people understand that the judges and the deep state players, they've been trying to stop him. Even with the certain individuals that are trying to say they're starting another party and try to break up MAGA, that is not going to work. You have to remember, the people wanted this. And the people knew that Trump was going to bring us down this path. It wasn't going to be an easy path. It wasn't going to be straightforward. It wasn't going to be like, hey, look, everything is just back to normal now. You have to remember, if you're living in an illusionary system, and the illusionary system is the Federal Reserve, the income tax, how we have to keep borrowing, how we need more and more money, how we have to go into debt, how the left is popular, how people are all for the left, how they want wokeism, how they want the far left people in government, how the elections are very even. All of this is fake. They've been fake. I mean, look, everything is fake. When you start to step back and take a look, COVID was fake. Masks were fake. The bioweapon didn't stop COVID. That was fake. It actually made people lose their babies. It actually gave them illnesses. It actually did all the things that they told you that it wasn't going to do. Everything that these people have told us is an illusion. Once Trump removes that illusion, the illusion doesn't work anymore. And people see the truth. That is what he's doing right now. So when people are all worried about all of this, Trump knows exactly what he's doing. He knows all he has to do is remove the illusion. Think about it. During COVID, if the illusion was removed, and during COVID, the doctors were allowed to speak, and they told you that masks don't stop viruses, we wouldn't need masks. If they told you 6 feet apart is not based in science, we wouldn't have these stickers on the floor keeping everyone 6 feet apart. We have no plexiglass. If they told you that, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, if you feel a little sick, that will take care of it. And if you do get it, most of the healthy people, 99% of them, they'll just basically recover with no problem whatsoever. But if you're feeling sick, you just take hydroxychloroquine. It's not that big of a deal. You know what we wouldn't have? We wouldn't have the pandemic. We wouldn't have the bioweapon. We wouldn't be going through all of this. If the illusion was demolished during that period of time, it would have been a nothing burger. Think about that. That was part of their illusion. Everything that we've been living in is part of their illusion. Trump is breaking that illusion. And once the illusion is destroyed, then you see the truth of the matter. Then you realize the D's have no power. The D's have no votes. The people aren't behind the D's. The fake news have been covering for the D's. Once you start to see this, you realize this is why Trump isn't worried. Because he understands what he's doing. He's going to shut it all down. And when people start to realize that the central bank has kept us in an illusion for a very long time. Yes, you've been living in an illusionary economic system for a very long time. Once people start to see this and the illusion is broken, everyone starts to see the truth of the matter. That they don't have power. We should have never been paying taxes. We never needed to continually go into more and more debt. COVID was fake. The elections that they created were fake. All these different ideas that we're going to be seeing people shoot at each other if they have weapons, all of it is made up. That's what they kept us in for years. Trump is destroying it. We'll be talking a lot more about this a little bit later. But as you can see, Trump now is continually removing the illegals and detaining the illegals like something we've never seen before. Smerkley put this out and said, Trump is now at 7.6 times Biden's monthly ICE detention intake. based on July's 46,000 plus bookings versus 6,000 monthly average across Biden's term. And this is going to accelerate like we've never seen before. And like we said before, we're in an illusion that the deep state players have created. Yes, the fake news was involved in this. They always like to keep you in this illusionary world. And when they tell you these things, again, it's a lie. It's fake. And when you start to look at the gun control laws and trying to convince everyone that guns are bad, again, it's an illusion. It is fake. Brandon Herrera put this out and said, constitutional carry is now law in 29 of the 50 states, including Texas as of 2021. Not only has it not given rise to more gun crime, but it's worked out just fine in states that have passed it. Some will try to paint this as radical, but I call it following the Constitution. Absolutely. And think about it. The would-be gun banners in the United States are some of the worst wolf criers in recent history. Every time the Second Amendment is reaffirmed by a court, every time a new law or policy is put in place strengthening the fundamental human right, they issue all manner of dire predictions, and every time they end up being wrong. Their warnings are false. As you might expect, our friends in the gun control industry aren't happy about ATF's proposed rule change. They're not happy about what is happening right now, because you have to remember what Trump did. He set up a Second Amendment division within the DOJ. The Second Amendment division is going to be going after all of these states that are violating the constitutional rights of the people. And when you start to look at what they thought was going to happen if you allow people to have guns, it never, ever happened. Way back in the 80s, Florida was the first state to implement shall issue concealed carry permit law, mandating that law enforcement issue a permit to anyone who passed the requirements, forbidding any need to show a particular justification. The anti-gunners predicted all manner of mayhem, from shootouts over parking spaces to running gun battles in the streets. None of that happened. Of course, at least no legal gun owner was going to do that. You know who was doing that? Oh, that's right. All those people that were carrying their weapons illegally. Oh, that's right. It's the criminals. So no law-abiding citizen who has their weapon, who carries a weapon concealed, using it for defense, is going to pull out their gun if they have an argument. Some years back, when Colorado was still a reasonable, sane place, the state passed a shall issue law, and they did the same thing as Florida. And guess what happened? Nothing. So who's really panicking when this happens? The crooks. And you have to remember, the D's, they support the crooks. Remember, everything's a lie. They tell you, oh, the only way to shut down crime is we need more money. You give them more money through the Federal Reserve. Yes, it goes to the Congress. Then, yes, it goes through the NGOs and everywhere else. And we need more money to stop the crime. Guess what happens? Crime gets worse. You're living in their illusionary world. This is what Trump is shutting down. He wants to rip it apart so you can see the truth, so you can understand what's really going on. Why do you think there were so many mass shootings during Obama's time? Because during his time, his mission was to do what? Remove the Second Amendment, get the guns away from the people. He had to create all of this to convince you that guns are bad. Just like the SPLC said, hey, look, racism's on the rise. Oh, look, all the white supremacist groups. No, they paid them. They created that. Again, another illusion. Trump is destroying their illusion. Same thing with terrorism across the globe. Think about the terrorists out of Iran. Who created this? How about the gang members, the cartel members? Who created all this? Oh, wait, the war on drugs. Who was the war really against? Well, it was against cartels because the CIA wanted to take over the drug distribution. It's their illusion. And once again, this is what Trump is ripping apart so people could see the truth. Now, the other thing that we could see is Trump now is rescuing those prisoners in Russia. Actually, Melania right now is finding the children that were part of the Ukrainian war. And it looks like Russia now is returning a lot of those children. Trump is also making deals with Putin to return those people that Russia has kept in prison. And he says, I'm proud to announce that American citizen Robert Gilman, a former United States Marine, is coming home. In a well-known media story, Robert was in prison in Russia in 2022 during the Biden administration. After my discussion with President Vladimir Putin, Russia has agreed to release him. very much on a humanitarian basis. We appreciate this decision and the fact that Russia asked for no one in return. No exchange took place. Robert will land at Andrews Air Force Base in Washington, D.C. tonight, where my representatives, some of whom are on the plane with him, will welcome Robert back to the United States of America. I just spoke to him, and he had one request, a great cheeseburger when he lands. I will take care of that. During my administration, we have prioritized bringing home Americans detained abroad and have done so at a level never seen before, returning hundreds of people to their families. We have also freed many non-Americans who were under capture in different countries throughout the world. Robert Gilman has been reunited with his wonderful mother, Nancy, who is also on the plane with him, and will soon get to see all of his loved ones. Thank you to my incredible team, including Special Envoy for Peace Mission, Steve Witkoff, Special Envoy for Hostage Response, Adam Bowler, Senior Director for Counterterrorism, Sebastian Gorka, Jared Kushner, and the many others who made this possible. God bless America, President DJT. And you could see everything that Biden and the deep state players didn't want to do because, again, they were keeping us in this illusion. Trump easily spoke to Putin and got the Marine home. Isn't that interesting? You have to remember, I do believe Trump is working with Putin. They've already laid out economic deals because they know once the Ukraine war that the deep state players once that is all said and done and Iran is all said and done, I think the world is going to change in a way that no one would ever believe would change. And we're starting to see that happen right now. And when you look at Iran, this is part of it. Remember, this is part of a much, much larger plan. This is not just about getting rid of a nuclear weapon. Yes, the nuclear weapon was very, very important because if they had a nuclear weapon, Trump would never be able to remove the control of pricing the energy. He needed that removed if we're going to bring manufacturing back to this country. Remember, the deep state players, they kept us in this illusion that, hey, we have to move the manufacturers out of this country because it's becoming too expensive here and it's cheaper out there to have the items produced. The only reason it was more expensive is because the Federal Reserve, the value of the currency was declining. They don't want to tell you that part because that's part of their illusion. And think about it. Iran continually says that they control the Strait of Hormuz. If that is the case, why does the U.S. fire upon vessels that are trying to sneak through the wall of steel? And why does the U.S. continually stop the ships that are trying to sneak through? Because, again, if Iran has control of the Strait of Hormuz, wouldn't Iran let them in? Think about it. So if Iran controlled the strait and they say they're closing it, how come the ships are trying to run through the U.S. blockade? Wouldn't the Iranians just give them safe passage? So the Iranians, keeping the strait closed, they don't want their oil being sold. They want their wells to dry up. They don't want to make any money. So they're keeping the strait closed and they won't open it. I mean, really think about this for a second. Now, I've been reading more and more stories about people randomly dying from blood clots. And after learning that Dr. Fauci got one after his clot shot and Senator Lindsey Graham passed away because of a blood clotting issue, I wanted to share something that's very much backed by science, and I encourage you to look this up. Now, something is happening to American hearts, and nobody in the system is warning you. Quiet microclotting, rising cardiac events, ultra-processed food making us sick, and a medical world that makes money by managing diseases instead of preventing them. And after the age of 30, your body slowly loses the ability to clear buildup inside your blood vessels. You won't feel it. Basic labs won't catch it. And nobody gets paid when your blood clears on its own. So they don't tell you about it. They literally try to control you. And that's why one of the supplements you can take every day from Black Forest is Nattokinase. It's not magic. It's not a cheat code. It's part of the hard to kill lifestyle. Clean up your movement, clean up your diet, stay lean, check your blood often, and be committed to your own health. Now, this 4-in-1 Nattokinase formula supports circulation, cardiovascular health, recovery, and daily performance. So you're not just looking good in the mirror, you're actually running like an engine that's being taken care of. Please do your own research on Nattokinase because you'll be shocked at all the benefits. But listen to what Joe Rogan shared.
Yeah, that's it. Nattokinase supplementation can significantly reduce the size of existing arterial plaques and slow the progression of atherosclerosis, particularly at higher doses. Nattokinase and arterial plaque reduction. Multiple clinical trials provide evidence that nattokinase, an enzyme derived from fermented Japanese food natto, has a positive effect on arteriosclerosis, hardening and narrowing of the arteries due to plaque buildup. Yeah, so folks, go take that stuff. High dose supplement. shrinks arterial plaque by 36%. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a very common supplement. It's an easy-to-get supplement, and, it comes from fermented food.
All right. I seriously looked this stuff up now because I asked them to do this. My audience gets their biggest deal of the year for the next 48 hours. Buy one, get one free across their entire store, plus a free bottle of NMN. So buy one, get two free, basically, right? This is 3 bottles for the price of one. This is the America 250 sale from the 4th of July that they reopened because I asked them to. After telling me we sold so much of this to your audience, I want you guys to know about Nattokinase. Now, this is for 48 hours only. It's a 4-in-1. You can learn about it. I'm going to put that link down below. So go to blackforestsupplements.com/X22 or click the link in the description. They don't control anything, because if that was the case, the ships would be coming in, filling up with oil, and they would be delivered to whoever is getting the oil. The reason why nothing's happening is because they don't have control. Again, it's a propaganda illusion. Rapid Response 47 put this out, and Trump is saying, the only one that has control of the Strait of Hormuz right now is the United States Navy. We have a blockade that's been infallible. It's a steel wall. We control the strait 100%. And he's absolutely right. Iran is just using propaganda. I mean, all you got to do is think logically. I mean, if they were truly in control, they'd be shipping out oil like crazy. Ships would be docked at Carg Island. They would be allowing them to get through the blockade. This tells you everything you need to know. They have no control whatsoever. It's a lie. Just like they're lying when they say, hey, look, we can ride this out forever. Well, it looks like that lie is completely and utterly falling apart, because Hariri, the head of the Iran-China Chamber of Commerce, says, yeah, the blockade could inflict more economic damage than the 40-day war and cost Iran an additional $18 billion annually. Shipping containers from China overland already cost roughly 4 times more than by sea. His warning shows why Trump considers the blockade such a powerful weapon. Airstrikes destroy targets. A blockade bleeds the regime economically every day, choking trade, raising costs, and squeezing imports and revenue. Even circumventing it comes at a price. Hariri warns alternative routes would further weaken the economy and fuel corruption. The blockade keeps inflicting damage without another bomb being dropped. Absolutely. And you could see Iran is in trouble. But again, they're being instructed to hold on. Don't do anything. Basically, this is going to be their downfall. You remember, the deep state, the central bankers, they don't care if the entire country is implode. They want to hold on as long as they possibly can. And this is why Trump continually comes out and says Iran, they talk, but then they do the opposite. Eric Doherty put this out and said, President Trump says that the Iranians will negotiate in private, immediately turn around, go public, and claim the conversation never happened. They're very devious negotiators, because they'll agree to something, then they'll go out and tell the press that they did not do it. They're very dishonest people, he says. They've got 300% inflation. The currency has no value. They're not paying their soldiers. The soldiers are leaving. That's not sustainable. You have to remember, Trump sees very, very different classified information than even the fake news. He understands what's going on in Iran, and it's very, very clear. And think about what he just said yesterday, that he is going to look to Iran for compensation. And he added to this, actually, and he says, also, with respect to Iran negotiations, Iran should be responsible for the damage and death caused in the people of Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, Gaza. President DJT. Absolutely, because you have to remember, it was their terrorists that kept all of this going. And now Trump wants compensation for that, actually turning the tables on the deep state players. And think about what this is all about. Remember, we go back to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Trump, he is now diverting the oil from the Strait of Hormuz. That is what this has always been about. He's removing the control of energy, period, the end, that's it. He doesn't care about the land in Iran. He doesn't care about the IRGC. Basically, what he wants in the end is all the pipelines to move away from the Strait of Hormuz, so the Strait of Hormuz is worthless. Nobody cares. No ships need to go in there. And that's exactly what is happening. Joe Lange says, this was always the plan. How do we know? Saudi Arabia has already completed their oil pipeline and are about to increase to 9 million barrels a day. The UAE is already halfway done with their oil pipeline. That will be completed in 2027. And Iraq has begun building an oil pipeline too. Kuwait is even looking into building a pipeline. Sovereignty has always been the key in Trump's plan, and he's working with the allies to protect future sovereignty by creating safeguards to protect the world's energy supply. And it's not a coincidence that Trump is pushing hard for a massive diversified new energy supply in our country and helping allies to do the same. Remember, he's decentralizing the oil. He's reversing everything the deep state players have done. So all those people whining, complaining about, oh, he should just end the Iranian war. No, this is much, much larger than this. He's undoing what the deep state, the central bankers have done since 1971. Yes, we can go all the way back to 1913. But when we came off the gold standard, they set all this up. The only way to take back control is to take it away from them. And that is what he's doing right now. This is why it's much, much larger. And when you look at what these people have done, where they created this illusion, another illusion, illusion after illusion after illusion, to trick the people. I'm not blaming the people because, again, you listen to the news, you believe what they're saying, but every step of the way, it's been a freaking lie. And now Trump is ripping this apart. I mean, all you got to do is look at COVID. I want to go back a little bit in time. I want to go back how the doctors back then, I mean, remember the frontline doctors? Remember the doctors who were trying to speak out? The fake news, they went out of their way to make those people seem absolutely crazy. And they wanted people to go after them. Mays put this out, and this is a clip from when we had the pandemic in 2021. CNN actually hunted down and confronted a doctor for spreading the truth. They called it misinformation, disinformation, but it was the truth. And they called him the spreader. Think about that. Take a listen to this.
The Biden administration has come down hard on vaccine misinformation, but one Florida doctor has seemingly gone to great lengths to perpetuate it. 360's Randy Kay now with the story, the hunt to find him, and the reasons behind his actions.
He is the ultimate super spreader, not of the coronavirus, experts say, but of misinformation about COVID-19. His name is Dr. Joseph Mercola.
It is very likely that most people in America, if not, the vast majority of people in America, have seen misinformation that has originated with this super spreader of lies and misinformation.
That's exactly why the Center for Countering Digital Hate, a nonprofit tracking misinformation about COVID online, put Dr. Mercola, an osteopathic physician, at the top of its disinformation dozen. A list of 12 people, the group says, were the source for sharing 65% of all anti-vaccine messaging on Facebook and Twitter from February 1st through mid-March. We tried to track down Dr. Mercola to ask him about the misinformation he's been posting. Like masks may not work, vaccines could be dangerous, and vitamin C and D can prevent or treat the coronavirus. We first tried to find him at his office in Cape Coral, Florida, outside Fort Myers.
Yes. I'm looking for Dr. Joseph Mercola. Not here. Not here.
Next stop, more than 220 miles away, Ormond Beach, Florida, which Dr. Mercola calls home. We found his house behind a large gate and tried making contact through the security access pad. Later, we spotted Joseph Mercola riding his bicycle. Once he stopped, we thought this was our opening to get some answers as to why he's pushing false claims about masks and the vaccine.
How are you? I'm Randy Kay with CNN. Can we ask you a couple questions? We just want to talk to you about vaccines and what you've been saying about them. Do you feel responsible for people who didn't get vaccinated, possibly got sick and died because of what you told them about the vaccines?
So despite all his bravado online, Mercola suddenly had nothing to say. Though after we emailed him questions, he responded saying, I encourage every person to fully educate themselves to make individual decisions about medical risk-taking. Throughout the pandemic, he's been quite outspoken.
I wanted to go back to the reason why the mask may not work.
In his email to us, Mercola challenged any suggestion that he belongs on a disinformation list. Still, by fueling the narrative that vaccines are dangerous, who knows how many of his followers chose to skip the vaccine. What Mercola hasn't made clear to his followers is that according to the CDC, the vaccines are safe and effective. though he told us via email that over 400,000 adverse events and 6,000 deaths from the COVID-19 vaccines have been filed, a majority of which were filed by medical professionals. To be clear, the FDA has not established a causal link to these deaths.
So right there, that tells you everything you need to know. And you have to remember, Fauci, Walensky, the fake news, they were all involved in this. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, they didn't know either. Yeah, they did. Now with Fauci, his text messages, with his diary, and actually if we confiscate the emails of Walensky and the rest, you're going to find out they've always known. They've always known what was going on. So did the fake news. They knew too. And all you got to do is go back a little bit in time when Rochelle Walensky was the CDC director. She let everyone know that there was no bad time for women to get vaccinated. Even when you're pregnant, go ahead, get it. It's safe and effective. Take a listen.
Safe to get vaccinated while you're breastfeeding.
It absolutely is safe to get vaccinated. So I would say if you are thinking about getting vaccinated, there is no bad time to get vaccinated. Get vaccinated while you're thinking about having a baby, before you're thinking about having a baby, while you're pregnant with your baby, or after you've delivered your baby. There is no bad time.
Is it safe to get vaccinated?
And right there, they kept the illusion alive, making you believe that everything was great. And remember, Fauci in February 2021, already 20,000 pregnant women have been vaccinated, and Fauci said there were no red flags whatsoever. Now we know that was fake. Actually, there are many people now coming out saying, I lost my baby. This guy is just like Mengele back during Nazi Germany. It's the same thing. No difference. Senator Eric Schmidt says the Biden admin censored disinformation that Fauci and Murthy knew to be true. They did this to force control over the American people. I filed Missouri versus Biden, Murthy versus Missouri, and we eventually won. But these guys need to be prosecuted. Absolutely. And then we had Bhattacharya out there, and Nick sort of put this out and said, Tony Fauci was out of his lane and used that power to tell America one thing when he really thought another. I'm glad his words now can be heard by the American people. It's shocking to me that he was sharing private thoughts and that when he was out in public, and he was out in the public a lot, he didn't share those private thoughts with the American people. I mean, and Tony Fauci was a major figure in trying to get those COVID shots past the finish line. He owed the American public some transparency. Well, let me just translate all of this. He lied to the people. He knew he was lying. He knew the truth. But what was this for? It was to keep you in the illusion so they can overthrow the United States government. That was their first mission with COVID. Yes, there's other agendas associated with it. That was their first mission. Lie, lie, lie. Keep people in the illusion so we can overthrow the United States government. C3 says, want some truth? They didn't care how many old people died. They didn't care how many kids got myocarditis. They didn't care how many babies were miscarried. They didn't care how many businesses were ruined. None of it mattered. They only cared Trump wasn't reelected. And that is absolutely true. So the D's, they used all this to overthrow the United States government. And think about it. They overthrew the United States government and they kept the entire narrative going under Biden. They were pushing the bioweapon. They were forcing people to get it. They were trying to make it mandatory. And think about it. Trump pretty much set them up because they were the ones who were actually pushing all of this. So they overthrew the United States government and they kept doing it. Now everyone is looking at them. And when people ask you a simple question like, do you really think Fauci did all this? You think this is all true? All you got to say to them is, think about this. Why would Fauci need criminal immunity? Why would anyone in the United States government ever think that they should get immunity for what they have done? You see, the cover-up always gets you in the end. Ask them that question. Why would he need criminal immunity if he did everything on the up and up? And then point him to the diary, point him to the text. Now, like we said before, when you really start to look at this, This is just like Nazi Germany. And I know a lot of people say, no, that's not true. Colonel Tyler Watkins explains, the U.S. government funded bioweapons. They unleashed them on the American people and conducted a massive psyops, fear porn campaign to convince or coerce them into injecting poison into their body, all to overthrow Trump. You know, the CIA has done some variation of this over 90 times successfully, and hundreds of attempts to some degree, including biological weapons. And that's absolutely true. So once again, these are the same exact people. They did the same exact thing. And they did it on their own people. Think about that for a second. Think about what else they did on their own people. They made the children get a huge amount of vaccines. I mean, we're talking about what, 72 jabs? And Europe, they were only getting what, 11? Ask yourself a simple question. Why? What was the threat? The threat was strong American people. If you're going to take over the country, you're going to infiltrate the country from within, you need weak people. Why do you think they started with the chemicalized food? Why do you think they were giving you all these different types of vaccines? Why do you think they were keeping people on medication? They never came up with a cure for anything. They just kept people sick. Kaneko the Great put this out and said, President Trump signs executive order reducing the number of childhood vaccinations recommended in the United States. America's recommended more childhood vaccines than any peer nation, and even twice as many doses as some European countries. In many cases, we were requiring 72 jabs for our beautiful, healthy, lovely, delicate little children. Effective immediately, my administration is recognizing gold standard childhood vaccine recommendations for only 11 core vaccinations against the most serious and dangerous diseases. The MMR will hopefully be split up. We want it in a separate vaccination given at separate times. Vaccinations for hepatitis B, COVID-19, and influenza, among others, are no longer recommended for all children. In addition, this EO directs the Attorney General to advance legal challenges against states that violate children's rights to religious or medical exemptions. Absolutely right. And think about it. I think Trump said the quiet part out loud. And because a reporter asked him a question about vaccines, and Trump answered it in a very interesting way. So the question was, and Trump put this out, why does the establishment media so often seem to be against even asking questions about vaccines? Trump says, it could be the medical groups, the pharmaceutical groups. I don't know. We could have saved hundreds of thousands of lives, millions of lives. So he just let you know who's been pushing all of this. It wasn't for the benefit of the people of this country. It was for profit and to hurt the people. It was all part of the agenda. Clandestine put this out and says, right now, the American people are getting a very important side-by-side. They're seeing Fauci exposed as the fraud that he is, while simultaneously being shown the new era of health, led by Secretary Kennedy. RFK Jr. and the Trump administration are actually following the science and shutting down Big Pharma's stranglehold over our society. Trump, RFK Jr. uprooting Big Pharma might be the biggest proof that Trump is the real deal. I'd also like to point out how public perception of vaccines has shifted dramatically. And now vaccine hesitancy, skepticism, is now widely accepted, but it used to be seen as one of the most unacceptable positions to have. Just a few years ago, the left openly said they wanted anyone without a COVID vaccine to be put in camps. They censored us online, smeared us on all forms of media, barred us from entering the public spaces, pushed us out of the workforce, etc. And we turn out to be right about everything. My, how things have changed. And that is true. Think about what just happened. The illusion was broken. Now people can see the truth. Now people are asking questions. Now people aren't going to go along with this again. That is what people are seeing. And why do you think Trump allows the enemy to do what they do best? Because you never interfere with an enemy while they're in the process of destroying themselves. You let them show you who they truly are. I mean, all you got to do is look at the governor of Massachusetts. She signed a bill allowing abortion until birth. So this is a full-grown baby, and they have decided, you know what? It's okay to kill the baby. Anna Lulis put this out and said, this is what a 34-week-old baby looks like outside the womb. Massachusetts Governor Healy just legalized killing an unborn child at this age for no reason, just because someone wants to. They call it reproductive rights because they refuse to call it what it is. Murder. And it is murder. And once again, the people must see it. The people must understand it. The people must break the illusion. And that is what is happening right now. Just like when you look at what is going on in New York City, sometimes you got to show the people. Sometimes the people must go through this to really understand. Because you have to remember, those people that are installed in these positions, they lie to you in the beginning, but they have other agendas and motivations. Because again, they are creating an illusion. And they're lying right to your face. I mean, think about it. Mamdani came out and he decided to put a pied-à-terre tax for people that have second homes. And that tax was going to be on second homes valued at $5 million or more. The property tax also affected certain co-ops valued over $1 million. What did Mamdani do? He doxed the homeowners after his Department of Finance published a database listing the names and addresses of 960,000 properties. Homeowners said the database and doxes could lead to harassment and violence. Homeowners decided, you know what, we're going to sue because look what he just did here right now, just to get this tax. And actually, he wanted the people actually to be forced out of their homes. Remember, his main mission was to confiscate the properties. That's what he really wanted to do. And right now, the judge has blocked all of this. And what's very interesting, and Eric Doherty put this out, it was a Democrat judge who formally ruled that Mamdani's botched the rollout of his tax on second homes in New York City, and the public list must now be removed. So right now, you could see that what he's doing, it's not working. Trump came out and said the New York pied-à-terre tax is costing New York City and state a fortune, in that the money eventually to be gotten is very little compared to the taxes paid by tens of thousands of people who are fleeing the city, never to return. Florida, Texas, and numerous other states are making an absolute fortune. This dangerous political experiment in New York will destroy what was once a great city and state. It is pure amateur hour, and it's hard, as president of the United States of America, to sit back and watch it happen, especially to place I once loved. Financially and then social ruin is a 100% certainty, and then the radical left jihadists charge congestion pricing on top of everything else. This doesn't work in America and must be stopped. Now, I'm looking to see if the federal government has any legal right to avert this disaster before it's too late, for the millions of people who cherish New York and want to see it thrive, as opposed to becoming a filthy, crime-ridden, decrepit place of mockery and scorn. Make America great again, President DJT. But let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting, because now Trump is going to be using the government to see if he can put pressure on what is going on there. Now, there are certain avenues that he can take, and let's see if he does it, because again, there's a lot of federal money going into New York. So let's see what he comes up with, and let's see how this plays out. But again, you can see these people, they were installed in in these positions to carry out the agenda of who? Obama, the deep state players, Soros, and the rest. Because again, their entire mission, I'm talking about the deep state players, Obama and the rest, was to do what? Infiltrate this country. Remember, Obama's part of the Muslim Brotherhood. So what did he bring in? Muslims. He brought in communists, socialists, Marxists. Remember who his mentor was? It was Ayers. So again, when you start to look at all this, this is what he's doing. Is he coming out and saying this is what he's doing? Absolutely not. He's the man behind the curtain. He works through all of these people. Actually, Mamdani met with him multiple times. And what's very interesting is M. Wokeness found a clip of Mamdani on an Arab podcast admitting that he fooled white liberals. Progressive ideology is just a tool. His real priority, identity. And again, basically, he just admitted that he lies. Just like al-Sayed. He pretty much lies too. They all lie. Remember, they only install the criminals. Those people that have no problem lying right to your face. And Clown World put this out and said, Michigan Democrats just nominated Abdul El-Sayed for Senate. He oversaw Detroit's animal shelter, where the kill rate hit 74%. Whistleblowers called it a slaughterhouse, and the city paid $63,000 to settle a lawsuit over the conditions. Feces backed up into kennels, rats, and cockroaches everywhere. This is the guy they want representing Michigan. He can't even take care of dogs, and he's supposed to represent you? Michigan deserves better. And Wokeness says, Abdul El-Sayed, he pretty much deleted a lot of his videos on YouTube and everything else, but people have, retrieved them, because again, just because you delete them doesn't mean they're gone. And By the way, Abdul El Sayed says July 4th fireworks suck. I hate Mackinac so much. Football equals toxic masculinity. Francesca Hung, cancel Thanksgiving. I do not enjoy fireworks. Halloween is not my thing. These people literally hate anything that has American connotation. And that's absolutely true. They hate everything about America. This is who the D's are now bringing in. Remember, never interfere with an enemy while in the process of destroying themselves. Because now the moderate D's, those people that are still in the Senate like Schumer and the rest, they have to go along with this. They have no choice. This is going to wake up the moderate Democrats every step of the way. And this is going to basically destroy their entire base. Now, Trump is already in the process of destroying the D's. You also have foreign countries and many other people trying to destroy MAGA or split MAGA up, which is not going to happen. And you can see Tucker Carlson, he is now claiming Israelis connected Benjamin Netanyahu shopped the Hunter Biden laptop story to him. Kaneko the Great put this out and said, Hunter then claims he never dropped the laptop off at the repair shop. Tucker and Hunter agree the laptop was hacked. Meanwhile, here's Hunter and his signature saying that he dropped the laptop off at the repair shop. And the FBI testified that Hunter received an email in April 2019 containing the repair shop invoice. How does Tucker sit down with Hunter Biden from an entire 2-hour interview and not ask him a single difficult question? Because again, they're all on the same side. Chuck Ross says, funny story. In 2020, after the Hunter laptop came out, journos at Daily Caller, the site Tucker Carlson founded site where I worked, came across emails that showed Tucker asking Hunter Biden to write a letter of recommendation for his son to get into Georgetown. Us caller reporters thought this would be a great way to refute Biden's world claims at the time that the laptop emails were fake or illegitimate. Someone who emailed with Hunter could verify their authenticity. We thought Tucker would be more than happy to help, and no ill will was intended. But no, Tucker lashed out at the Daily Caller employee who was tasked with contacting him about this, saying that a story on that would be an attack on my family or something along those lines. I think that tells you everything you need to know. Miranda Devine says, like father, like son, lying becomes so habitual, they eventually lose grip on reality. And that's absolutely true. And like I said before, when you start to look at the Democratic Party, what do you see happening? You see the D's right now, they are moving away from the party because, again, they don't want communism. They don't want Islamists. They don't want any of this. And trying to break up MAGA is not going to work. Karma Patriot says, real MAGA won't fall for this BS. If they do, they probably weren't voting for President Trump on Election Day anyway. What's actually happening is the Democratic Party splitting in real time. Progressive socialist communist left versus the remaining moderates and establishment types. You can watch it play out daily on X and on the mainstream media. When you see a longtime Democrat operative like Julian Epstein, who worked on Hillary's campaign, publicly endorse Republican Mike Rogers over Abdul El Sayed, and then publicly say his own party has lost its moral center, gone off the deep end, that's not just crack. That's a fracture. Democrats used to hold the line no matter what. Now they're splitting tickets. That's new, and it's lethal. A Tucker party loaded with Trump haters like Massey and MTG won't hurt MAGA. It'll just help finish off the Democrats, and that is absolutely true. The drunk Republican says, it's not enough that Trump has to fight the mainstream media. Now he has to fight the right-wing podcasters and his own party in the Senate. By the way, they're not right-wing podcasters. All at the same time that the Democratic Party goes full commie. The midterms shouldn't even be close. Hell, Republicans should be on the verge of decades-long rule. But here we are, plumb in the middle of a dumb Effistan. Defectors like to blame the war, but the splintering began before a bomb ever fell. Lifelong conservative capitalists don't just wake up one day and decide charging interest is a sin, or that Rand actually wants to be our buddy. This was all planned long ago, and when the smoke clears, I think we'll learn by the unlikeliest of bedfellows. But karma will treat them all the same. And yes, think about this. Right now, those people out there, you're starting to see their true colors. You're starting to see who they are. You're starting to see who the D's really are and all the crimes that they have committed. Remember, everything the D's, everything the rhinos have done, they projected what they did. Random HVAC guy pretty much explains it. Trump raped kids on Epstein Island. No, that was Bill Clinton. Paxton helped a pedophile. No, that was Tim Walz. Trump insider traded. No, that was Nancy Pelosi. Don Jr. did coke and paid hookers. No, that was Hunter Biden. Trump pardoned his family because he's corrupt. No, that was Joe Biden. Elon Musk bought the election. No, that was George Soros. Donald Trump ruined the economy. No, that was Joe Biden. Donald Trump destroyed healthcare. No, that was Obama. Republicans did this. No, that was Democrats. Every step of the way, this is what they've done. And Trump, he let you know who the enemy was. He actually made a list of them. Because again, what has he been doing? He's been cleaning up crime. And of course, the deep state players have to tell you that he didn't, even though he did. And Trump just listed all the enemies. This is what he put out on Truth. Chandler Hall, representing on television the foolish Center for American Lack of Progress, stated that adding the National Guard to cities, including our now great, again, Washington, D.C., had no impact on crime. How crazy is that? Hall was met with furious dissent. The report is just another radical left scam, as are the people who fund this gaggle of lunatics, including George Soros, Bill and Melinda Gates, Google, Apple, Visa, Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Walmart, Toyota, T-Mobile, and NBC Universal. Foreign support includes the Embassy of Japan, the Korean Foundation, Taipei Economic and Cultural Representative Office, Taiwan, and the Embassy of the United Arab Emirates. The Democrats love it and are against anything Trump. These people and others like them are so bad for our country. Their stated course is anything to hate or demean Trump. This will be met with a lawsuit, which is being drawn now. I'm also strongly considering adding some of the contributors to this fake organization. Crime is way down since I took office, and they know it. Liars at this level must be held accountable. President DJT. He just told you who the enemy is. He just shared his list. Think about that for a second. And when you really look at the crime and you look at murder, it is back to 1960 levels, and it's dropping even further than that. Rapid Response 47 put this out and said, crime data analyst Jeff Asher, the 2026 U.S. murder rate will be far the lowest ever recorded. And again, the deep state players, they just lie. Once again, they're trying to keep you in their illusion. They've been doing this for a very long time. Remember all those studies that come out with food? Oh, don't eat eggs, don't eat meat. These aren't peer-reviewed studies. These are studies from the food manufacturers trying to force you not to eat those foods, but eat another food. Again, it's part of their illusion. And when you look at what happened with Russia, that was also part of their illusion. And now the FBI has declassified investigation of former AG Jeff Sessions, codename March Toll. The White House Government Transparency Office has declassified and released FBI internal documents surrounding their opening of an investigation of Jeff Sessions on May 10, 2017. The investigation of Sessions surrounded his contact with Russian ambassador Sergei Lavrov and was opened the day after James Comey was fired on May 9, 2017. Several people have questioned the naming of the FBI investigation as March Toll. However, the essential aspect to the nonsense investigation stemmed from corrupt DOJ FBI insiders, the small group who were strategizing on a way to force Jeff Sessions to recuse himself. That planning took place in March, hence the name March Toll. Jeff Sessions was confirmed as Attorney General on February 9, 2017. Almost immediately, the group in charge of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation began planning on a way to force Sessions to recuse himself. Ultimately, they were worried that Sessions would tell the FBI to end their ridiculous Trump-Russia investigation, so they needed the Attorney General isolated. All the FBI action was to keep anyone who would impede the creation of a special counsel removed from the process until after they could get Mueller and Weissman into place. Robert Mueller was made official on May 17th, the day after he visited with Trump at the White House. So think about this. Sessions was the FBI's boss. They had to remove Sessions, but did they actually remove Sessions? Joe Lange explains. Remember who was behind this? Andrew McCabe. Fired FBI official authorized perjury investigation against Sessions. Q drop 2381, October 9, 2018. Use a stealth bomber. Who must authorize firing of FBI DOJ officials? Why did McCabe try to take Sessions out? What was the Sessions Senate confirmation vote? 52 to 47. Remember who was firing all the corrupt FBI and DOJ officials? Sessions and Wray. Q drop 1318, May 8, 2018. Who has the power? Who has the control? If POTUS was not in control, would they be retreating? Who is the AG? Sessions. Who must approve the firing dismissal of DOJ officials? Reread DOJ org change. Open source, more in pipe. Who is the FBI director? Wray. Who must approve the firing dismissal of FBI agents? Reread FBI org change. Open source, more in pipe. If Sessions and Wray are DC swamp, deep state, why are they cleaning their respective houses? Use logic. Why are they slow walking unredacted data? Why are they slow walking doc disclosures? Why is the White House backing up DOJ? What if the same data is being used by other investigators? What does it mean if a grand jury is impaneled? Sessions was targeted by McCabe and the Democrats for a reason. Trump knew their playbook ahead of time. The reason why Sessions recused himself from the Russian investigation was to give him cover so he could launch the Huber investigation in secret. Huber reported directly to Sessions. Q drop 2204, September 17, 2018. Panic in D.C., Sessions and Huber weekend meetings. That led to this. Q drop 2205, September 17, 2018. Panic in D.C. Sessions classified letter to SC Justices 1 and 2, RE recusal. Unrecusal and clarity. RE conflicts based on unclassified material today. Highest court authority approval. Sessions wasn't really recused. He unrecused himself from the Russian investigation in a secret classified letter to 2 Supreme Court justices, likely Roberts, who oversees the FISA court, and Thomas. Trump hid that fact under a state secrets designation. Sessions kept pretending he was recused, and Trump kept faking his disappointment in him, because it was a sting operation to give Comey, McCabe, and other conspirators a false sense of security. But go back to the earlier Q drop that revealed McCabe tried to take out Sessions. McCabe was the number 2 official at the FBI. Why did Q say, use a stealth bomber? Comey and McCabe were the ones who weaponized the FBI to frame both Flynn and Sessions because they were the biggest threats. But who was the stealth bomber? Have you ever heard the name David Bodwich? An FBI official who served as Associate Deputy Director under James Comey and Andrew McCabe is replacing McCabe as Acting Deputy Director. The FBI spokesman confirmed to Newsweek. And as Associate Deputy Director, David Bodwich was the 3rd-ranking FBI official according to the Bureau's organization chart and would now become number 2. Why would FBI Director Christopher Wray promote the number 3 man at the FBI who worked with Comey and McCabe during the Crossfire Hurricane conspiracy to entrap Flynn and frame Trump? Bodwich was one of the top members of the FBI to whom Comey had relayed his allegation that Trump asked him to drop the investigation into Flynn. Comey's allegation was the whole predicate for the call for a special counsel. This allegation was also the complete basis for the obstruction of justice charges. Do you want to know why the Mueller investigation exonerated Trump and couldn't bring obstruction charges against Trump? Bodwich. The enemy plan failed miserably. Why? David Bodwich was a plant. He was a stealth bomber inside the FBI and is now the star witness against Comey and McCabe. David Bodwich had a front row seat in the Crossfire Hurricane investigation and retired with full benefits. Trump was directing the play entirely. Absolutely. And once again, like we said, going way, way back in time, this was one gigantic sting operation. How do we know this? Well, think about what Trump always says when he makes a post. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Mean Genome says, letter from 2 senators used to open March toll should have been called March troll. Trump's been using it ever since. So this was the letter. Sessions or with his staff, and whether any laws were broken in the course of those contacts or in any subsequent discussion of whether they occurred. We also request that you brief us on the results of that investigation. Thank you for your attention to this matter. It was Patrick Leahy, United States Senator, and Al Franken, United States senator. And now you know why Trump uses this after every single post, almost every single post. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Remember, this is the biggest sting operation the world has ever seen. Clandestine says, even though the process is slow and arduous, the overtone window is steadily shifting. The more obvious the Dems' insanity gets, the more people wake up and recognize that the Democrat Party has been compromised by communists, socialists, jihadists, etc. The American people are being shown that the Democratic Party is not what they claim to be, and they do not represent the interests of the American people. This reality could not be shown to the public overnight. It had to be exposed over and over and over again and drilled into the minds of the public. We had to completely override the collective consciousness, and this process takes time. The progress we have made since Trump's first term has been remarkable. Russiagate was a hoax. COVID was man-made. Mass vaccines were a scam. January 6th was a setup. 2020 election fraud. The overthrow of the United States government. The list goes on and on. Subjects that used to be considered taboo and would get you banned from social media and fired from your jobs are now accepted as reality. It might not seem like it, but we're making massive progress. And we get closer to the tipping point, critical mass, every day. And that is absolutely true. And think about what Trump just did. The Trump administration has implemented a daring plan that will allow it to sabotage Democrat efforts to investigate the administration if Democrats take over Congress. Department of Justice Office of Legal Counsel issued an opinion that will allow Trump to claim executive privilege over communications between him and private advisors. The opinion goes on to say that this move would be legal as long as they relate to the official decision-making, involve or reflect communications with the president or his direct advisors and are confidential. This extends to direct advisors, communication with outside advisors. The memo signed by Attorney General T. Elliott Gazer broadly defines the terms private advisors. So basically, Trump now is protecting everything that he's done. So if by chance in the future that he's regained control, the deep state players regain control, they can't do anything about it. Now, do I think this is going to happen? Absolutely not. But Trump right now is making sure, and he's making sure that if this should ever happen or things go south, that he's able to stop it. And think about this. It looks like the Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, he has now announced that he is staying on for another term. He's one of the greatest of all time, Trump says. And we are lucky, President DJT. Absolutely. And it's a good thing that he is, that he's staying on. Now, the other thing that's very, very interesting is that out in Indiana, it seems that they already certified the vote. And after it was certified, they did a recount and it flipped the race. Eric Doherty put this out and said, major win for Trump. Rhino, Indiana State Senator Spencer Deary loses by 3 votes after a recount flipped the race in favor of a Trump-endorsed Paula Koppenhaver. The Rhino, who opposed redistricting, led by just a few ballots before this. Trump pick wins 6,332 to 6,329. This is the first time I can recall that our side won a recount. What's changed? Think about it. Why can this be flipped after the elections were certified? That tells you everything you need to know right there. And think about what Trump just did. He said, listen, even when the elections have been all said and done, they can be flipped if there is a recount. So this sets up the precedent across the country now. This is going to be very, very interesting moving forward. And think about this. As of right now, we can see that the Senate has gone on vacation. And they're going to have certain senators come in and actually go ahead and gavel in pro forma. So already the first senator is John Boozman. So I do believe we should take a very, very close look at all those senators that have no problem coming in on all the different dates to basically gavel in the pro forma sessions. So it's going to be August 13th, the 17th, 20th, 24th, 27th, 31st, September 1st, the 4th, the 8th, and the 10th. So let's take a look at all these senators, and every single one of them should be voted out if their elections are coming up. And I think what's being shown here to the people is these are the people that are against everything that the people want. These are the rhinos. So let's see who they are. This is going to be very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that's very interesting, and it seems that Wayne Root was interviewing President Trump, and Wayne Root asked President Trump a very interesting question. And Trump had a very interesting answer in regards to the Save America Act and the executive order. Eric Doherty put this out and said, leftists are panicking after President Trump dropped this response to suggest he declare a national emergency to secure elections until the Save America Act is law. Root says, you have the right to declare a national security emergency for elections. The Supreme Court ruled in 1983 that if you declare, they can't challenge it. It can only be overturned by a 2/3 vote of both houses of Congress. If you do this in the next month, we will get photo ID, proof of citizenship, and a limit to mail-in ballots. Trump, stranger things have happened. I'll leave it at that. So once again, if the Save America Act is not passed, he's asking Trump, are you going to use an executive order? And he says stranger things have happened. So once again, does he mean that the evidence is going to come out and he's going to declare a national emergency and he's going to use the executive order? Or stranger things have happened where all of a sudden the Senate now is voting on the Save America Act. The Save America Act passes and there's no time to implement it whatsoever. The proof comes out that the elections were rigged. He can use the executive order and basically say everyone needs a voter ID, everyone needs one-day voting, and everyone needs to do it on paper ballots, which shuts down the illusion of the D's election system. That's what that does. But we'll have to see how this plays out. So actually what this tells you is no matter what, he's already preparing for this. He's already preparing to do this at the last minute because he knows he doesn't want to give the enemy, and we're at war still, any leeway to try to counter this. Yes, are they going to try to sue? But if you do it the last minute, it's going to be very, very difficult. And he knows the Save America Act would never be able to be implemented right now. This would have been done probably a year and a half ago for the states to actually comply. But again, that's not what the midterms are about. The midterms are to keep them safe, to remove the deep state cheating system, and have the Republicans win the House and the Senate. The Save America Act is for the states to implement all of it for the presidential race. So I do believe at this point, once we win the House and Senate, let's say it doesn't pass, you know it's going to pass right off the bat. Or maybe we'll all be shocked and it will pass and Trump will write the executive order. But either way, no matter how this all plays out, Trump has already let us know that the midterms are going to be safe. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.